Hi, hello, hi. Welcome to the culmination of two of my favorite hobbies. As a bit of a crossover with my other channel, Stormwind Games, this week I've decided to have a bit of fun and attempt to match a video game to every single area within the Disney World theme parks, water parks, and Disney Springs. Now, obviously, Disney has a large amount of games available as well, so as a challenge, I'm only allowing a max of one Disney game per park, and each game can only be used once. I'm also going to majorly try to avoid games that are rated above teen, so if a kid wants to play these games, then they can. For Typhoon, Blizzard, and Disney Springs, I'm counting those together, so only one Disney game will be allowed for the three of them total. I did consider including the resort hotels, but that would easily add about 40 games, at which point I might as well make that its own video. So maybe I'll get around to that eventually. Anyways, it's time to get our game on. I figured I'd take this rare opportunity to start with some of the lesser known areas from Disney, specifically Blizzard Beach. Blizzard and Typhoon create an interesting issue as they don't really have separated areas like the parks. Well, except for their kid areas. Blizzard's Tyke's Peak is themed Frozen, meanwhile Typhoon's Chickadee Creek is still currently non-IP based. Counting these feels like it would set a precedent for the splash zones at the resorts, so I will instead just be counting the water parks as one each. For Blizzard Beach, I'm matching it to Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Wii U and Nintendo Switch. A tropical area being taken over by a snowstorm feels hard to argue with. As for Typhoon Lagoon, I'm thinking it maps to Animal Crossing Horizons. While New Horizons doesn't strand you on the island, it might as well have, considering the best you can do is visit other islands and then return to your own. As for Disney Springs, it's essentially a fancy mall, so what better game to attach it to than Sims 4? Now, why Sims 4 and not one of the earlier ones? Because Springs, much like Sims 4, is best enjoyed with lots of money. Nah, it's just because it's felt more adult oriented since Pleasure Island and Downtown Disney became one giant area. So it doesn't make sense to attach something like Animal Crossing New Leaf or anything else aimed at a younger audience, does it? Officially speaking though, Springs is broken up into multiple areas. The first is the Marketplace, which is mostly the classic Disney stuff like World of Disney. Town Center, where they put the really big Christmas tree every year. The Landing, where Boathouse is. And the West Side, which is where Pleasure Island used to be. Town Center is definitely what Sims 4 would attach to. Animal Crossing New Leaf would attach to the Marketplace, as those are more kid-friendly stores. The Landing is going to be attached to Cooking Mama, as it is almost exclusively restaurants and food-based shops. And lastly, West Side is going to be Nintendo Switch Sports, because it isn't as good as the previous iteration. We're going to head over to the other side of property with Disney's Animal Kingdom. There are currently 7 areas at DAC, though Dinoland's retheme has been shown to be in full swing for Tropical Americas, so I'll just be doing 8 just to keep this maybe relevant if you're watching this in a few years. Starting at the entrance to the park, we have the Oasis. This is a jungle-themed area with a bunch of animals to look at and take photos of, so I'm thinking the original Pokemon Snap on the N64 works best. This is mostly due to the fact that both have basically been the same since people could first experience them. Then we have Discovery Island, which is mostly known for the Tree of Life. The best match I can think of is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. That may not be the best option, but it's got a marketplace and the Great Tree, just like Discovery Island. Next is Pandora, which does in fact have a PlayStation 5 game devoted to Avatar. Now, I didn't want to have to use it as my Disney game for this park, as it's a very boring answer, but it's very much of a stretch to match anything else to Pandora. So, yeah, the Pandora PS5 game. Going into Africa, the main thing here is the Kilimanjaro Safari and the Festival of the Lion King. So I feel the best option is going to be New Pokemon Snap. It's a bit more modern than the original, plus it feels alive and gorgeous, just like the Safari. Let's not forget Rafiki's Planet Watch, which is mostly a petting zoo and animation hall. I will happily match that to Scribblenauts. So, moving into Asia, the biggest things here are Kali River Rapids and Expedition Everest. My favorite choice for this is Pikmin 3 Deluxe. The Pikmin series is for sure one of my all-time favorite series, so I know that Pikmin 3, with the stream that surrounds one of your bases and the tree stump you have to climb, is likely one of the best kid-friendly choices. For adults, Uncharted or a Tomb Raider game might work better here. Last but not least, we have what is currently Dino Land. Now, purely off dinos, there are a lot of options. However, basing it on the things actually in the area, namely the Rad Dinosaur, Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama, and the Boneyard, knocks a lot of those options out. Even with the more broad answer of a learning game with mini games that are separated from the main game, there's not really a ton of those that aren't from like Leap Start from when I was a kid. So I'm going with Yoshi's Island for the Game Boy Advance, mostly due to the separate minigame on the same cartridge. As for the retheme into Tropical Americas, the only for sure thing we know is that it's supposed to have Encanto, which is lively and about patience, so I'm going to pick Mario Party 2, since that Mario Party is lively and about patience, but also gets its themes for every board, and this is a new theme. Moving to the opposite of Animal Kingdom, we have the big city with Hollywood Studios. I guess technically Studios doesn't really have a true theme anymore, but that's not a concern for this video. What we care about are the 9 areas that are listed on the map of Hollywood Studios. Starting off, we have Hollywood Boulevard, which is a giant shopping area. For this, I'm going with style savvy, fashion forward on the Nintendo 3DS. Look, there's a lot of essentially shopping areas in the various Disney parks. I can't give them all something amazing up front, or I'm going to have to come up with obscure titles later on instead, once I've already knocked out a good portion of the list. Thankfully, Sunset Boulevard at least has a fair amount of rides and shows. For this, I'm choosing Princess Peach Showtime. This game just released a few weeks prior to writing this, not recording it, whoops. And this is arguably the best spot for it. Moving into Animation Courtyard, the major factors here are the Fab 50 statues, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and the actual Animation Courtyard where Disney Junior Play and Dance and several Star Wars meet and greets take place. Yeah, Hollywood Studios kind of has this weirdness where a lot of the lands are long and not truly together. Thankfully, Super Paper Mario is also a mismatch of worlds that sometimes don't actually go together. Next, we've got Echo Lake, which similarly is a mix of Frozen, Indiana Jones, and Star Tours, and also Mickey Mouse shorts. Not even missing a beat, we're going with Super Mario World, which lays out the world a bit better, even if it is on top of each other when you zoom out. The other path away from Animation Courtyard is Commissary Lane, which features food and meet and greets. So I'm picking Kirby's Return to Dreamland, as it's a fairly nice and easy game, and this is typically a nice and easy breezeway. The Muppets live inside of Grand Avenue, and actually that's the only thing going on over there. As one of the only things left at Disney World to prominently display the use of 3D, this gets to be Super Mario 3D Land, since that game actually utilized the 3D effect. Next we have Galaxy's Edge, which I'm matching with Among Us instead of a Star Wars game, due to the fact that Disney absolutely betrayed us by cutting back on so many of the ideas that were originally presented for this land. Leaving Batuu, we have Toy Story Land, which I'm giving to LEGO Dimensions. LEGO Dimensions is a toy-to-life game that doesn't feature any Disney property, at least when the game released. It does now, but buyouts. And also isn't one of the various Toy Story games. Finally, we have Pixar Place, which used to have the Toy Story Mania entrance, but now only has meet and greets and food. This absolutely matches up to Mario Tennis Ultra Smash for the Wii U. For those of you unaware, which is 99% of you watching this video, the Mario sports games through the Wii were all about the same quality as the Mario Kart series. The transition to HD killed the momentum, as none of the games since have been all that good. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash is a glorified demo of a tennis game, which is about the best I can say about Pixar Place, as it's really just in need of something, anything, to justify the existence of this land. Let's jump onto the Skyliner to reach our next destination, Epcot. Now, here's the thing. Epcot has 11 countries, plus the International Gateway, and the Outpost for the World Showcase. The thing is, if I wanted to name games to match countries, I would be doing that list. So instead, I'm counting World Showcase as one area, which is being matched to Super Mario Odyssey. Odyssey is a globe-trotting adventure for Mario, and a lot of the countries around the World Showcase make an appearance in the game in some form. Now, thankfully, there are 3 other lands in Epcot. The first is World Nature, which features the land, Nemo, Moana, and Figment. I don't feel like people actually appreciate how many areas around Disney World are based on nature, but I do because I keep having to come up with games to match them. This one belongs to none other than Pikmin 4. The game has a fairly large diversity of areas, and was definitely not chosen because I could see the game box while writing the script. World Celebration only really has Spaceship Earth, which doesn't really feel like it helps create a theme for a game, thus the resulting match is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Technically, you could go with any time travel game, but this is a more recent one and thus might actually still be available. World Discovery has Test Track, Mission Space, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, so a racing game set in space would be best. Which means F-Zero 99, mostly due to it being the most accessible of the franchise. After a long journey, we have reached the original park of Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom. This is obviously the easiest of the 4 parks since the main theme of most of the lands is right in the name. Let's start on Main Street USA, which is the largest shopping area in the park. This is based on classic small American towns. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of games with that as a focus, so I'm going with Animal Crossing City Folk for the Wii, since that is a game about a small town and discovering your place in it, but also contains a city area, so we basically have the hub as well. Which works because officially the hub is not its own area, apparently. The spirit of Adventureland lies in brave souls willing to face any challenge for those that need protecting. Which means The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is a perfect choice for this land. Link is trying to protect his sister and has to go on a great journey to do so. Frontierland is slowly changing, so this might not be accurate later on, but for now I think a great match is New Super Mario Bros. DS, due to World 5 being a swamp, which embodies Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and World 2 is a desert, which embodies Pecos Bill and Big Thunder Mountain. Liberty Square is based on America, so I'm thinking a football-based game is a great way to showcase that. As I said at the beginning, I don't really want to use teen or higher rated games, so that takes out a lot of the first-person shooter games, which feels like a weird addition to a Disney list anyways. Just because we have recently played it on the Online Gamers podcast, I'm thinking specifically of Tecmo Football for the NES. Mostly because playing it in the modern age makes it feel like it belongs in the Haunted Mansion graveyard. Fantasyland is the largest land at Magic Kingdom, with properties from Little Mermaid to Pooh Bear to Peter Pan, and a bunch of others getting some love. Thus, the game needs to be something that gives a whimsical feel while using a bunch of different properties. And while I'd love to say Kingdom Hearts and move on, I feel like we can do better than that. Which is why I'm picking Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. This combines a ton of properties across gaming history into one fighting game, similar to how Once Upon a Studio combined roughly 100 movies and shorts across Disney history into one short. Storybook Circus is going to be related to Super Mario 3D World, which is not the same as Super Mario World. This is because 3D World has multiple circus-based boss fights and levels, and Storybook Circus is a circus. The only way to get more accurate than 3D World is by finding a preschool level game that takes place exclusively at a circus, and I feel like narrowing it down that much would lower the overall playability that this list has. Tomorrowland absolutely deserves the best, and what better game to give it than Super Mario Galaxy. Tron Light Cycle Run matches the motion control level vehicles, Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin is covered by the game's combat, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor matches the game's humor, and Space Mountain matches the game being in space. Wow, that last one's not good, huh? Like I said at the start of the video, including the resort hotels would greatly increase the number of games, and the uniqueness of the resorts really only exists in theming, so it would end up almost being games from the same series. So we're going to skip that for now. However, I will absolutely include one ultimate game as the pinnacle of what game maps to Walt Disney World the best, and that is Kingdom Hearts 3. For new visitors, Disney World is a complicated mess, and the same is true for new players that started the series with Kingdom Hearts 3. There are good parts and there are bad parts, and a bunch of properties thrown in due to them being popular, even if they don't necessarily make the most sense. Honestly, it might be the most accurate match in this whole video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. I very much am considering doing this for other Disney resorts, and maybe other theme parks like Universal as well, so let me know if you're interested in that. To end off, I'll leave you with a list of every land and every game that I mapped them to. And who knows, maybe you found a game to try. Definitely let me know if you did. Anyways, I'll see you real soon.